Watch our show, Dil Se Expertise. Plan a good holiday. Founders of LTM, Let's Talk Money. Specific life goals. And we have guests on our show who are experts in the field. There's a lot more. Hey, and welcome, very warm welcome to all of you. Good evening. If you have not met, my name is Bhuvna Sriram. I am a certified financial planner, wealth manager, teacher, blogger, mom, founder and CEO of Plan to Prosper. At Plan to Prosper, we help successful and busy corporate working professionals grow their wealth and generate enough passive income so that they can enjoy the best life that money can buy for them. And we've been doing these shows, Dil Se Expertise, since lockdown. This is our 11th show. Sudha ma'am was here on our third show or something. And today we've come a long way. Deepak, today is our 11th show. We've had the idea has always been that we bring whatever is topmost in the minds of our clients, our people who follow us on social media, our friends, family, and try and resolve those questions, give them some answers we've been very desperate for. So on our show, we've had Meera, Jamit, we've spoken about range of topics. You see Sudha ma'am here. We spoke about emotional health, we spoke about succession planning, we spoke about cryptocurrencies, we spoke about entrepreneurship and equity markets and insurance during COVID, loans, should you take a morat or no, gig economy, and last week we also spoke about what can you do about your credit scores. So very warm welcome, Deepak. I'm so glad that you agreed to come. All our shows are available on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Insta, and on LinkedIn. And you can catch them there as well. But if you come live, that's amazing because you can get your questions answered from the guest. Deepak is an ophthalmologist. He's a squint specialist. He's a cataract specialist. He's also an pediatric ophthalmologist. After his MBBS, he did 5 years of internship at Shankar Nethralaya, and today he's director of Eye Solutions, Kemp Corner. Eye Solutions is a chain of hospitals which gives the whole range of eye care solutions, and he's one of the leading doyens on the industry in ophthalmology. So I'm so glad to have Deepak in today's show. Deepak.
Thank you. Thank you for having.
Yeah. So Deepak, just help us understand what brought you to ophthalmology and what's your why? Why do you, what makes you get those?
So, it's interesting. I finished MBBS. I wanted to actually become a urologist, like my father, because he used to teach me while I was doing MBBS. So I was good at that specialty during my MBBS days. And in the meantime, what happened is that my grandfather actually started a charitable institute in his hometown called Jalna, which is the largest eye hospital in Western India. Currently, after his passing, I am actually a trustee of that hospital. And what happened is I went and I saw the impact that eye surgery makes on people's lives. And that impact actually got me excited about ophthalmology. It also takes much less time to finish education compared to urology.
Really?
And then I got excited, and then I got an opportunity to go to Shankar Nethralaya. And there, what happened is I met one of my bosses, actually, Dr. Minakshi. She actually really guided me and encouraged me, and I started liking the pediatric ophthalmology specialty.
Okay.
And that's how it happened. It wasn't really planned every time, but one instance made me actually take it up. Yeah.
Great. So you connected the dots. Like
yeah.
how,
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So like this is topmost in all our minds, right? I just put out this message in the morning saying, is this the first thing that you're doing? You pick up your phone and watching the screen, right? And that's pretty much the last thing that you do in a day as well. And my son just outside is attending an online workout class. Okay, so his coach is on the other end, right? So it's, the screen time has just tripled. I would say almost tripled, quadrupled during this lockdown. And I don't know if this really has an impact on the eye, or is it just a lot of hype? Does it really impact?
It's not hype. There is some amount of hype, but it's not purely hype, because what screen time does is it actually, whenever you look at any near activity, you are focusing your eyes to see that near thing clearly. It could be reading a book. It could be looking at a computer screen. Now, normally what happens when you read, you may take a break. You may, look around, talk to somebody. If you're at work, you get up for a cup of coffee, or you go to the loo or whatever. Now here, what's happening is you're on the computer the whole day, or you're watching TV the whole day. And yes, breaks can happen, but not as often as they were happening earlier. So constantly looking at a screen will cause some amount of eye strain. It will cause a feeling of fatigue, eye tiredness. Of course, there are other issues. So when we all look at a screen, we don't blink very often. And this reduced blink rate is the number one cause of dryness in our eyes. So if you actually, not because of COVID, but if you ever went to a back office, in a bank back office, which we have actually gone and done camps for earlier, 70-80% of those people will have red eyes.
Yeah.
Their eyes are red perpetually because they are sitting in their little, square things, looking at a computer for 8 hours a day. And it leads to significant dryness, which causes severe discomfort, redness, watering, itching, all those type of complaints. So it's not only hype, it does cause these issues. There are other issues also. Should I just continue, or should I pick it up?
Go with the flow. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other issue that happens with excess computer usage is actually a possibility of increase in glass number.
Yeah.
So what studies have shown, and this has been proved, these studies have been done in actually Southeast Asia, because there the prevalence of myopia is very high. Now, myopia is nothing but wearing minus numbered glasses. So most of the people you see around you who have glasses are myopic. Majority of them are myopic. So what studies have shown is that if the more time you spend doing near work, the higher the chance that you'll develop myopia. Okay. Now, this trend has been observed in the last 10 years in any case, right? We all are on the phone. I mean, the amount we played downstairs as kids, our kids are playing less. Ours was also very unstructured, and theirs is only structured. So if tennis happens twice a week, then that's twice a week, and nothing else is happening. Now, and it has become so bad in the Southeast Asian countries that now it's like a prescription that you have to do 1 hour of outdoor activity a day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's become a prescription in Taiwan and other Southeast Asian countries, because their prevalence of myopia is 85% above 35 years of age.
Wow.
It's very, very high. So that happens, but it's not like if you do extra near work for 3 months, you're going to get glasses.
Okay.
That's where the hype factor comes in. Okay. Everyone is freaking out because it's become suddenly so much, and no one sees an end in sight.
Correct.
We don't when we are going to go back to normal. So there are tricks you can do. You can do certain things to reduce that risk. All right. It's not really easy to stop screen time. I mean, what you have to do, you have to do. School's going to be on. Our kids are going to be on this thing. Adults are going to have to work. All the meetings will become a near activity, which earlier was a far activity.
Yeah.
So those tricks, once we do those things, some amount of the issues that computer work is causing can, of course, be reduced to an extent.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm interested. I mean, I have two questions here. One is, you said it's the problem of near activity and not really that brightness of the screen or something.
Yeah.
And
right.
two, you said, because of near activity, can I just like push the screen like this and then will I be okay?
Okay. So near activity by definition is at reading distance. Okay. Computer is a little far away from that. So computer is not at 33 centimeters or 1 foot. It's a little, maybe 2 feet or 1.5 feet.
Okay.
Far is actually 6 meters away.
Oh, far 6 meters.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's in theory.
Okay.
If you push your computer, let's say, a little more than a meter away,
Okay.
it would still reduce the eye strain.
Really? Okay.
But
So
then
this
that's
is
an
how I'm doing
impractical.
it
But
from
that's
now.
yeah, but that's impractical. You're not going to be able to use a computer 1.5 meters away, because then, I mean, you can't even click on the keyboard,
Yeah, correct.
right?
Right.
So just by moving the computer a few inches or half a feet further
Hmm.
is not really going to change too much.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing is, yes, the first comment was right. It's all these studies or all these comments that I made earlier are all related to near work. So computer is one form of near work. You know, if I read a book for 24 hours a day for 6 months, I will get glasses.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. What computer causes is why computers become more obvious to us as users as a problem, because they also cause, as I was mentioning earlier, dryness.
Oh,
That
okay.
actually starts bothering people.
Mm.
You know, the dryness really bothers people. So yeah, so computers have an additional problem, but the core the risk of getting glasses is not just because of computers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So is the impact greater with children rather than adults, or is it all the same? Are all of us at risk?
So the risk of getting glasses is of course only with children.
Okay.
Our adults are not going to suddenly get glasses just because they're using the computer. Okay.
Okay.
So normally when normally when we are born with a plus number.
Mm.
As we grow older, the plus number reduces.
Okay.
And by, let's say, 6, 7, 8 years of age, the plus number is supposed to become 0.
Okay.
And then the minus number starts. So it's like a spectrum. You're born
Okay.
at one end, right? And you start moving towards 0, and then you move towards the minus.
Okay.
This number increases as we age because the length of the eyeball grows. Okay. It's not because the eyeball is becoming weaker.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It's not like your eyes are weak compared to someone else's. And it's actually, excuse me, it's actually optics, you know, the physics that we studied in the 9th and 10th standard, you know, convex lens and the parallel rays come and they meet at a point. It's actually that. So when the eyeball length increases, the rays stop meeting at the retina. And then you have to start wearing lenses so that they meet at the retina and you get focused images of things that you're seeing. So adults are not at risk of getting glasses suddenly, but adults tend to work on computers, and kids tend to faff around on computers when they're not doing schooling, right? So if they're playing games or if they're watching YouTube videos, they're so engrossed that they also do not blink. If you notice your children, they will not be blinking. They in fact even stop hearing you, right? So we tell them to come and eat, we tell them to switch off the TV, time to sleep. Nobody even hears you. There's no response. And that's because they're just so engrossed. So they're not blinking. So issues of dryness, issues of eye strain will be there in kids as well as adults.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the power for adults can change. You're saying suddenly I'm not going to be wearing glasses, but if I'm already wearing glasses, will I be required to change my glasses?
No, not really. Not
Because
really.
I'm finding, more difficulty in the last 2-3 months.
Yeah. So what you're finding is you're finding a difficulty looking at your computer with your current glasses. And that could be because of a regular change in number.
Achha, okay.
Okay. So we all are born, let's assume we all are born without a number. And we live like that till we are 40, 42, around that age. But at 42, we all will get reading glasses irrespective.
Correct.
Right. Now, whenever we are in our younger days, so let's say before 42, when we need to look at anything near, we are focusing by a power of +3. Okay, that's the rule. Now, when we reach 42, we can't focus by a power of +3. We lose that ability. So let's say we can focus by a power of 2.5. So now we are short of half. So then you get a 0.5 reading number.
Achha, okay.
So you're supplementing what you cannot do anymore. As you grow a little older, you can't focus by 1, let's say. So you can focus for 2, you can't focus for 1. So now you need a +1 reading number.
Okay.
So gradually, as we age after 42, by let's say 50, 52, 53, you will get a reading number of +3. It's a given. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So what may be happening with you is you're just basically your number has changed by a 0.25 or something. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay. So is there anything that we can do to stop aging of the eyes?
No,
No.
no. You basically, so this is
So I can like go round on my eyes and all. No, that doesn't help.
so we are allopaths, right? Allopathy, unfortunately or fortunately, we are an evidence-based science, right? So even though I personally think that there may be merit in some things, I don't have the logic behind it. I don't have data for it. So like homeopathy, for example, I don't understand homeopathy, but I do know that it works for chronic diseases better than allopathic medicines. Or Ayurveda I have zero clue about, but I cannot trash it because after all it is such a old, it's such an ancient way of treating people.
Yeah.
So in our specialty, or I do not know what exercises work to prevent aging. My yoga sir tells me if you warm up your hands and put them over your eyes, it helps. I do it. I don't think it helps.
No, it doesn't help.
No, I don't think so. I don't know how that would help. I don't understand the concept of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So in allopathy, at least I can tell you that there is no role of exercises to relieve to prevent aging.
Okay.
There are actually the role of exercises in eyes is for very, very few conditions.
Okay. Okay.
There are they are more technical conditions. Sometimes your eyes are not able to turn inwards. So if you look at anything near, let's say now you're looking at a computer screen, eyes are supposed to turn inwards. If they can't, then exercises can help with that.
Achha, okay.
Some things like that, but most of the times not.
Okay. Oh, interesting. There's a question from Amit. He's saying, how do foods like carrots help?
Yeah. So that's again I don't know if I should say media driven, but it's basically like a myth.
Yeah.
So carrots have vitamin A. We all know that.
Yeah.
And vitamin A is a part of a reaction that happens in the retina when we see things. Okay. Now, so firstly, vitamin A supplements or carrot juice or carrots or whatever will help when you don't have enough vitamin A.
When you don't have enough vitamin A. Okay.
Right? Not when we are overnourished. Most of us are overnourished.
Okay. Yeah. True.
Right? So all of these supplements, actually supplements is not the right word. All of these myths that we hear of, this is good for that is good for that, is actually very useful for people who are malnourished.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
However, that being said, these days the thought process is that the foods that we eat today are not as nutrient rich as they used to be.
Okay.
Right? And therefore supplements are coming back in a big way. Okay. Now the other thing I will just add, though it's a little off topic, is that the supplement requirement that human beings have is very different from the multivitamin capsules that we get in the market. All right. So let's say I need vitamin C 1 gram a day. All right. What a multivitamin capsule will have is 100 grams a day.
Okay.
And why they put that there is because they want to include it in the ingredient list.
Okay.
So suppose you as an individual have done your research and you say, okay, I want to take these 5 things daily. And you go and you see that ingredient, those 5 things are there.
You'll buy it.
You're happy to buy it and you consume it. But it doesn't meet the daily requirement. So if you really want to start taking supplements, then we should actually do some research on. I'll share a blog article with you, Bhuvna, which you can share with people who, whoever you want with. And and that actually gives you your daily requirement.
Okay.
And these vitamins you have to, if you want to really get them, they'll only be available as individual, vitamin A capsules, vitamin K capsules,
oh, okay.
vitamin C capsules, zinc, magnesium, melatonin. So I actually take 10 supplements a day.
So these multivitamin tablets all in one, doesn't that
No,
work?
no, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
You will get them as separate capsules, and because they are separate and because they are of higher dosage, they are actually really expensive. I mean,
They're expensive, but are they harmful as well?
good question. I don't know. I think it's very important that you do your research very well. Overdosing of rare elements is a big problem. So
Yeah.
magnesium, zinc, it's a serious problem if you overdose on these supplements.
Okay.
Vitamin A, vitamin C, and all, they'll be wasted. If you overdose, you'll basically pee them out. So it's a waste.
Okay.
But it's a very good question, and I think if anybody wants to really start supplements, they should really do their research before.
Okay. So you're saying multivitamins don't work, take supplements separately?
I don't think it's more of a placebo effect. If you take multivitamins, they're not really giving you the dose that your body needs. If you're just taking it for the sake of taking it, yeah, then might as well continue taking it if it makes you feel better. A lot of people actually, I tell them, if you're happy taking it, I'm really fit because I take it. I said, then continue taking it.
Okay.
Because it's actually making them happy and they feel they're strong and all that. So great, right? Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I mean that's pretty interesting. All these very interesting questions that are coming up. I have my own list of questions, but I'm going to trash it and then listen to what's happening here. So Amit is asking, what about walking bare feet on earth or grass? Does better blood circulation help?
So again, I think, okay, why people said walking on grass helps is because when you walk on grass, you're actually stepping out of the house and you're looking far away.
Okay.
I really nowadays have been thinking that this is the reason why people, because I've heard this walking grass concept since I was in, at Shankar Nethralaya, people have been saying, and obviously as a younger man, you trash everything that you don't agree with. Okay. But then you become wiser and you try to find the reasoning behind. And I think it's basically because you look far away. Yeah. I think it's really important to keep looking far away because that reverses the action of the muscles in the eye that are working when you're looking at near things.
So should we like do this alternate, looking far, looking close? Does that help?
No, it's not practical. Alternately means, yeah. So if you, every half an hour, if you take a break for 5 minutes and look out of your window, that's enough.
That's enough?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's enough.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, so Amit, I think you should go out and walk in the grass because it's good generally to go out and walk, but it's the looking far away that helps. I hope that helps. That's pretty interesting. So Swati is asking, does retina eye display or blue light blocking on phones and iPads help? I think we were talking about it.
Yeah. So that question I was telling you, Bhuvna, earlier, that every day, at least 2 friends ask me this question. I'm really fed up of typing out the answer, so I start sending them links of some video that I had made a few months ago. Now, blue light is abundantly present in sunlight. Okay, and blue light is present in every light at home also. Okay. Another thing you should know is that blue light can actually penetrate the eye and hit the retina. And it is said that blue light is one of the causative factors for a disease called as age-related macular degeneration. We were speaking about that. Okay. Now, so therefore, the contention is that blue light blocking lenses. Blue light does one more thing. It reduces the levels of the hormone melatonin in the blood, and melatonin helps us sleep better. All right. Okay. Thus, the contention is that blue light can do 3 things. Blue light blocking lenses can do 3 things for us. They cannot make you have age-related macular degeneration. They can help you sleep better. And what is the third thing? Okay, I'm forgetting and I'll come back to it. Now, age-related macular degeneration happens because of many years of exposure to various things. It could be blue light, it could be deficiency of rare elements in the blood, etc., etc. If we suddenly start wearing blue light blocking lenses, are we not going to get age-related macular degeneration? I really don't think so. Yeah. I mean, whatever risk you have of developing ARMD, which is age-related macular degeneration, still exists. I do not think it goes away just because you wear blue light blocking lenses for a few hours in a day.
Okay.
The second thing is it helps you sleep better. Now, sleeping is a big issue these days, or actually, I don't even think it's these days. It's quite a big problem, and sleep is the biggest biohack. I mean, it's the biggest energy source actually, okay, which happens for free. I mean, so if you are able to sleep well,
Recharge. Yeah.
it's the most efficient way of recharging for physical and mental growth. Not being able to sleep is it happens because of a multiple reasons. It's not only because of you using the computer.
Okay.
And again, I do not think that blue light blocking lenses is going to enable you to sleep better just by wearing them. Regarding eye strain, I think the reason why the question was asked was it reduces eye strain and reduces some other things that computers may cause. I know that blue light blocking lenses will not harm your eyes in any way.
Okay. Okay.
But I do not think they offer any benefit. Okay. Some friends, my friends are using them. Who I told them, yeah, sure, get them, but I don't think they'll help you. They're using them. A psychiatrist friend of mine, who I can think of him as a brilliant doctor in Australia. He actually tells his patients to use them, but then he also tells his patients to not have coffee 2 hours before sleeping, not use the phone 2 hours before sleeping.
Okay.
He advises them to do certain forms of meditation. Okay. And to my mind, those 3-4 things are much more important than wearing blue light blocking lenses.
Gotcha. Okay.
Today morning, a friend messaged me from Delhi that, Deepak, should I get them? So I told her no. She said, oh, I got the cheap ones from Lenskart. They look like dummy glasses.
Okay.
I said, don't tell me I told you so.
Okay.
Don't let me tell you that I told you so, because that's what actually happens. You really think you're wearing dummy glasses. But that being said, there's no harm. So if someone feels, placebo is very important. Placebo is very important for our minds. So if someone feels that it makes you feel better and you think that you're doing something to help your children or yourself, then no harm in buying them. But scientifically, they don't add any value. You have to realize there are massive companies that market this. In fact, we have sold in the last 3 months a lot of blue light blocking lenses from a hospital, but this is in spite of us telling them that we don't think they add value, but people choose to buy them. And I think that it just calms their mind and calms their nerves that their exposure is the harm is reduced.
Yeah, harm is reduced. Okay. So you're saying blue light blocking lenses don't really work. You can wear them if there's for placebo effect. And this looking long distance, looking short distance seems to work a lot more, be a lot more beneficial than blue light, which is easy, right, and cheaper. No need to waste money on blue light blocking lenses, right? So I mean that's a question. We've had 3 of those questions on blue light blocking lenses. I think that's like the in thing. Hashtag blue light blocking lenses.
There is so much marketing happening. It's insane. Lenskart is probably in the lockdown. It only sold blue light.
Yeah,
it's okay. I mean, as long as people know, unfortunately, if they buy just because they think they are saving their eyes, it's then that's a little sad.
Yeah. Okay. So Swati, I hope you got your answers. So diabetes, Tivesh is asking the impact of diabetes on eyes or vision. So
so that's a really important question. So diabetes affects every organ in the body, and it causes irreversible damage in every organ in the body. So I'll repeat that. It causes irreversible damage in every organ in the body, which includes kidneys, your nerves, your heart, your blood vessels, right? In the eyes, it causes 2 things mainly. The first is it hastens the development of the cataract. All right. That is the milder form of what diabetes causes. Why? Because cataract can be easily treated. And the prognosis after cataract surgery, so when we counsel a patient for cataract, we would tell them that, sir, if you do your cataract surgery, let's say tomorrow, by tomorrow evening, you will see better than the other eye.
Okay. Okay.
So cataract, even though diabetes causes cataract, we don't worry about it too much because we know we can fix it, right? What diabetes really causes is something called as diabetic retinopathy,
Okay.
which is nothing but a disease of the retina.
Okay.
And what happens is that you get areas of bleeding in the retina. So basically you get new blood vessel formation. Okay. And
Okay.
these blood vessels that form on the retina are abnormal.
Okay.
Because they are abnormal, they can burst very easily. And whenever they burst, they cause bleeding in the eye. You have a sudden drop in vision. You become completely blind in like an instant. And then, it takes time for the blood to get absorbed on its own, sometimes 2 or 3 months, and the vision can come back.
Okay.
But what happens in chronic diabetic retinopathy is that new membranes start growing on the retina, and these membranes want to crumple like a piece of plastic. So they want to crumple, and when they crumple, they actually pull the retina away from its normal position. So we get what is called as a retinal detachment.
Okay.
All these conditions, whenever the doctor treats, is only to preserve the vision that the patient walks in with.
Okay. Only to preserve. Okay. Nothing is reversible.
Nothing is reversible. The only way one can prevent is, of course, that's common sense, is to control your diabetes and to make sure you do that. Or the other thing is to get a yearly eye examination.
Okay.
And what that does is, so in the initial stages of diabetic retinopathy, nobody will know that they have it. Right? So they will only know when they have a disease, when they lose vision. But in the initial stages, they will not lose vision.
Okay.
They start developing the diseases, slowly growing.
Yeah.
Symptomatic, yeah. So if they get an eye checkup then, and if the doctor detects that you have a retina problem then, what happens is the doctor doesn't really do anything, but you get a shock.
Okay.
It works as a warning.
Okay.
And that can motivate enough people to actually start thinking about controlling their sugar.
Okay.
If you control your sugars, the process of getting diabetic retinopathy is delayed.
Okay.
Okay, you cannot do anything to prevent getting it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So if you have diabetes, and if you have really, really controlled it well forever, one can still get it. That's the tragedy of this disease. One can still get diabetic retinopathy. So the only thing a diabetic can do is to control blood sugars and to get a yearly, what we call as a dilated eye exam, not a routine eye exam. You have to get a dilated eye exam where some drops are put in your eyes. You're made to sit in the waiting area for half an hour. Your pupils dilate. You will see blurry for 3 hours after the examination. The examination takes only 5-10 minutes after that. But with that, you will know whether your retina has any problem or no.
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting. Rishikesh is asking, does wearing these VR glasses, that virtual reality glasses, does it have a serious bad effect on eyes? I mean, I think that's really very close vision, right?
No, actually, that's not close vision. I mean, you are looking, the screen is close.
Yeah.
Okay. But your eyes are not focusing close by.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you're not straining as much as we think we are straining. So the focus must be as good as a computer distance. It's not here.
Okay.
If you think about it, try to hold any piece of any book or something so close to your eyes, you won't be able to read it.
Correct. Yeah, you don't read
Actually,
it.
you can't see anything up that close at our age, especially.
Yeah.
And children may still manage because their ability to focus is very, very strong. But at our age, there's no chance you can read anything so close.
Yeah.
So our eyes are not in as much of a strained state as we think they are. So I think from a practical perspective, virtual reality would be same as using a computer.
Okay. So it's not causing extra damage.
No.
Okay. That's great. So I mean, I wear glasses, and I never managed or bothered to wear contact lens at all, because the doctor said I couldn't wear a soft lens. You have to wear a semi-soft lens, right? But a laser surgery was recommended. So what's your opinion? Tivesh wants to know whether a laser surgery for number correction is recommended. I see that you wear glasses too. So
Yeah.
what's your
That's a
opinion on?
question I get asked often. Why do you wear glasses? So first thing you have to understand is that I'll start with an example. If I have broken my finger, and if I go to an orthopedician will tell me that, Deepak, I need to operate on your finger to fix it. And these are the side effects of, these are the complications that can happen when you undergo the surgery. All right. And I will take a call that, yes, I will deal with those complications if they happen, but I need to fix my finger. And the reason I take that call is because currently my finger is broken.
Correct. It's painful.
Correct? It's painful. I can't hold a glass or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, when someone is choosing to get a LASIK done, they're not really broken before getting the LASIK done. All they're doing is they're wearing glasses. They're fine.
Yeah.
They just want to get rid of the glasses. It's their wish to get rid of glasses.
Yeah.
Okay. LASIK should never be an advice that a doctor gives. LASIK should be something that the patient demands.
Okay.
Okay. So we never tell a patient, I think you should get LASIK done. A patient will ask us, doctor, I'm thinking of getting a LASIK done. What do you think?
Okay. Okay.
That's the first thing to understand. The second thing to understand is a person should be very driven to get LASIK done.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So suppose, let's say a 20-year-old child wants to get LASIK done. So we get families where, so we don't want parents forcing the child to get LASIK done. Okay. And one reason for that is, anyway, I'll come to that. So so the patient should be driven. Nobody should be forcing the patient to get LASIK done. The next
thing.
Why
is it important? I mean, why are you stressing on this?
Okay, I'll tell you, because even though the risk of anything going wrong in LASIK is very, very low, right? It is, nothing in life is 100%. All right. And so is not LASIK. Now, if something, one tiny thing were to go wrong and he's just not 100% happy, right? If he's driven to get LASIK done, he will deal with that happily. However, if he was forced to get LASIK done, he will complain for the rest of his life. Okay. So if you want it done, you will deal with the complications. But if you do not want to do it and someone else told you to do it and then you get it done, then you're going to be an unhappy person. Okay. Forget the situation of the eyes. The person is going to be feeling terrible forever. He's always going to curse the person who's actually told him to get that LASIK done. Okay. The next thing we should know is that LASIK is a technology-driven procedure. It's actually done by machines. The doctor's role in performing LASIK is very minimal. Okay. The technology is extremely high-end. And the fact is that anything that technology does, the chances of error are extremely low. Okay. So, a plane flies, but the highest risk is during takeoff and landing, because that's where the pilots are involved.
Correct.
That's what data says. Now, similarly with LASIK, LASIK works best for minus numbered glasses. So people who have myopia, LASIK works best for them, and for astigmatism. LASIK does not work as well for hyperopia, which is a plus numbered glasses, which is what I have actually. Okay. Right? The other reason why people who wear plus numbered glasses don't get LASIK done is because in their younger years, so I have had glasses since I was 5. I have a plus numbered glass. It's not very common, but we are not dependent on glasses like a minus numbered person is. Okay. So therefore, our life wouldn't drastically change if we get a LASIK done. On the other hand, if a person has a -8 or a -9 number and he gets LASIK done and his glasses go, there is a massive change in his life. Correct. Okay. So does LASIK make a difference to people's lives? For higher numbered glasses, it makes a massive difference. Okay. I don't think it makes a massive difference for people who have low numbers, let's say 1, 2, or even 3 for that matter. For them, they just don't want to wear glasses.
Yeah.
which is fine. They can wish for that to happen and they can get a LASIK done. But for people who have a higher number, they can't even go to the loo at night without wearing glasses. So if they
Correct.
come in the middle of the night, you have to first wear your glasses and then go to the loo.
Right.
So, and therefore, for them, when they get LASIK done, there's a massive
Massive.
change in their life. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. But you're saying as a doctor, you're not recommending it because nothing is broken. You don't have to fix something that's really not broken.
Yeah. It's not, no, not recommending it is wrong. We will not. So at least at our place, we are not the first, we do not initiate it.
Okay.
We never tell you if a person who's wearing -8 comes to my clinic and he says, I've just come for a routine eye checkup. We will examine his eyes and he'll go back. We are not going to tell him, sir, you should think of getting LASIK done.
Okay. Okay. So there's a very fine difference, right? Between not recommending, not suggesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a fine difference, but it makes a very big difference because then it tells you, from my perspective, it tells me whether the patient has ever thought about it or no.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I don't want to be the one planting that thought.
Idea. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's very interesting as an advisor. I mean, I'm hearing this from a doctor on how he would go about advising, and there's very fine difference on not recommending and not suggesting. We had a similar conversation about the gig economy earlier, and we were talking about should we suggest someone who's who's successful in their careers choose to leave their jobs and then go gig. So she was saying exactly the same thing. You shouldn't recommend it. But if they want to do it, they should do it. I think it's very fine what you're saying, sir. That's getting off track, right? So here there's a couple of questions on blood pressure. So blood pressure and impact on eyesight and eye blood pressure. Are they two different things?
Yeah, they are two different things.
Okay.
First, we'll talk about the blood pressure. Blood pressure can cause, again, retina problems. They are not as severe as what diabetes causes. Okay. I think blood pressure is also relatively easier to control compared to diabetes because it doesn't involve, stopping sugar is a big problem for people. So I think blood pressure control is easier, and therefore we do not see serious blood pressure problems.
Okay.
The other thing that blood pressure can cause is it can cause nerve problems. The optic nerve. Optic nerve is one of the 12 cranial nerves. All right. Cranial nerves take care of hearing, eyes, nose, taste, all of that. And it can actually cause something like a nerve attack. So instead of a heart attack, it causes a nerve attack. The blood supply stops and we can get, the nerve actually stops functioning. It's a terrible thing to have because you lose vision right away in an instant, and it's very difficult to get back. It's just lost. So blood pressure can cause these serious problems. They're not as common as diabetes related problems. Regarding eye pressure, so normally the eye pressure should be less than 21 millimeters of mercury. That is what most of us fall into that category. If the eye pressure goes higher than that, then we get a disease known as glaucoma. That's the name of the condition which we get if our eye pressure goes up. And what happens in this condition is that the nerve of the eye gets damaged and it is irreversible.
Okay.
Right? So whatever vision you have lost, you will not come back. We as doctors can only prevent further loss of vision.
Okay.
Right? And the vision that's lost in glaucoma is peripheral vision. So right now, if you're looking at the computer screen, you can still see the edge of your table, or you can see the window in front of you, or whatever. That will start going.
Okay.
Okay, you will still continue to see the computer screen, but it will look like you're looking through at the end of a tunnel.
Okay.
We call it tunnel vision. And that happens gradually over many years. But the good thing about glaucoma is it's very, very easy to treat.
Okay.
So if someone has glaucoma, then all we have to do is start on the correct drops. And just like you take tablets for blood pressure, you take drops for eye pressure, and your pressure will remain under control, and no eye damage will happen because of that increased pressure.
Okay.
It is an important thing here is it is familial. So if if someone in the family has it, your blood relative, then the chances of you getting it are very high. And therefore, the most important thing to do is after 35. So if my father had it, then after 35, I should be getting an eye pressure checkup once a year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's in my marital family. So maybe I should get my husband who could do it. Meanwhile, a couple of very interesting questions here, and something I was thinking about too. So you were talking about dryness of the eye, right? Very near vision causing. So do the drops help?
Yes. Yeah. So two things can help. One is, of course, to be aware of the fact that we are blinking less.
Okay.
So if you're conscious about it, you can blink a little more frequently.
Okay.
The other thing is to not sit directly under the blast of an air conditioner.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So just like any wind blows across any surface, that surface will dry.
Okay.
And so it is with our eyes. So if
Okay.
our eyes are open and we're not even blinking and there's a blast of wind blowing across it, your eyes are going to dry faster. So then, figure out, change your position or whatever. The next thing is since most of us are on laptops these days, we tend to look downwards, a little down, right? So that is fine. That's good. But if you're sitting on a desktop and, sometimes you want to slouch in a chair and then look a little upwards, the higher you look, the wider your eyes are open.
Okay.
Right? So there's more surface area for the eyes to dry up.
Okay.
So always try to look a little downwards, just a little below the horizontal.
Okay.
And finally, drops. Drops are great. They are harmless. They are very good. There are tons available in the market. There are multiple brands. I'll name a few: Refresh Tears or Gentile or Max Moist. But there may be 100 brands in the market. And some are with preservatives, some are without preservatives. The common ones that are available in the market are with the preservatives, and they are fine to use. There's no harm. We give the drops without preservatives to people who have chronic dryness, who are just not getting better. We see people who have actually severe dryness, and we have to actually start them on other medications also, which they have to use for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. But do not think of them as addiction. People worry that, oh, I'm getting addicted to these drops, I need to stop using them and become stronger myself. But it's like the psychiatrist friend had told me that if you run and if you injure your ankle, will you get your ankle fixed? I said, of course I will. So he's saying, so if you are stressed out about something, and why won't you get your stress fixed? Why will you not take medications for stress? And he's a really smart guy. And actually that, because we all feel that, psychiatry medicines may be unnecessary many times, or
right?
We have that. It's a prevalent thought process that most of us have. Similarly, if you want to be on the computer 8-10 hours a day and you're going to have dryness, you cannot say I'm not going to put drops, or I'm going to manage without drops in spite of me having complaints. Either you reduce your computer or you get on the drops.
Get on the drops. Okay. So that's like a good antidote, right? Because I can't get off the computer.
Exactly.
So okay, get your drops. Okay, I think that's amazing. So so Kajal, I think that answers your question, is that it's not really harmful to use these drops over a long period of time, right?
Not at all.
Okay. Good. So Sriram has a question: does wearing or not wearing glasses have an impact on the power? So if I have very mild power, like a 0.5 or -1, what if I just don't wear glasses? I mean, I'm able to see and I'm fine. So will it increase my power if I don't wear?
You mean at our age, right?
Yeah. Okay. You could say for children and as well as for.
Okay. So for adults, for people like us, so I'll take you as an example.
Yes.
If you have your reading glasses and you choose not to wear them and work on the computer, you are not harming your eyes in any way. First,
if I take off my glasses and stay on the computer.
Yeah, you're not harming your eyes.
Okay.
Your number is not going to change because you took off your glasses.
Okay.
Your number is going to change anyways, like I told you earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And the third thing is, what you are going to be doing is you're going to be straining to see clearly.
Correct. That will cause a headache.
Yes. And that strain will cause you a headache. But after a good night's sleep, in the next day, you're back to square one.
Okay.
For children, if they don't wear glasses, the risk of... So in theory, there is a risk that the number increases.
Yeah.
but then they have to not wear it for very, very long times. I mean,
Okay.
6 months, 8 months, 1 year and all that.
Okay.
Just once in a while, if you don't wear glasses, nothing is going to happen to anybody. You will
Okay.
just not see clearly.
You will not see clearly. And
Yeah.
you stream. Be very uncomfortable, right?
Yes, yes.
So there was also one theory that said if you don't wear your glasses, I mean, when you wear your glasses, you're getting used to them. So you're not giving your eyes a chance to readjust. So don't wear the glasses and then adjust. So will the eyes get better?
Yeah. So this is actually very important. It's a good thing that you raised this point because it's a little controversial. There are centers in Bombay that actually claim that you will get used to your glasses. These are they're not obviously ophthalmologists don't believe in that, so they're non-medical centers, but I heard they're very busy.
Okay.
And what they claim is that if you don't wear your glasses because you're going to get used to them, okay, and you will never be able to get rid of them. Okay.
Never be able to get rid of them.
I've been practicing for 13 years. I've never seen anybody get rid of glasses by following what they advise. Okay. You can't get rid of glasses by doing any sort of thing. Now, suppose you don't wear glasses, you will not see something clearly, right? Let's say I turned 42, I got my first pair of reading glasses and I am managing without it, right?
Okay.
So of course I can manage without it. And of course, if I wear my glasses and then I see the computer for an hour and then I take out my glasses, suddenly everything will become blurred for like those 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
You may be experiencing that actually. And then after some 5 minutes, you start seeing the computer a little clearer. That's because your eyes are straining. Okay. I just told you that straining has no long-term negative impact on your eyes. It just causes fatigue. All right. But me personally, I tell my people who come and see us that if you're struggling, you're not achieving anything by struggling.
Correct. There are enough other things to struggle.
There are enough other things to struggle. If you are struggling, just get on your glasses. You'll be fine. This is an age-related thing. It's not like you have done something wrong because of which your eyes are giving you trouble.
Okay.
Right? This is a natural thing for every human being to happen. So just get. So I don't believe in that concept. It's a, it's very unfair for people to continuously struggle.
Okay.
Because they don't want to get used to glasses. It's not like they're getting used to glasses. It's a normal age-related phenomena that you have to go through. Yeah. So don't think of wearing glasses as something that you're getting addicted to. Okay. Another thing is all these type of questions will come in the early stage of reading glasses, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So when you just start, so once you have a number of +2 or +1.75, there's no chance you're going to ask this question. You'll just put on your glasses and read because you can't read anything without glasses.
Yes, obviously, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Much half blind, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hear that. So eye exercises don't really help. You're saying, or does it at least help the fatigue?
No, looking far helps actually.
Looking far helps. Okay, so going around with your eyes don't really help.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay. No. So looking far helps, wearing eye drops help.
Yeah, putting eye drops. Yeah.
Putting eye drops help. The blue light blockers don't really help. Going out and walking in the grass helps general health, right?
Yeah.
And also that you're saying that the excessive use of computers is not something that you have to be alarmed about, which is heartening to hear.
Yes. You can't, I mean, you have to have a practical side to our decisions. I mean, you can't have everything in theory.
Yeah.
So we can't work without computers. I mean, Yeah. So it's not that terrible anyways. So
not
I mean,
terrible.
you take a break every half an hour.
Yeah.
Blink your eyes more consciously. Put the drops.
Yeah. See something green. That's another theory. Seeing something green color, does it help?
Yeah. So I think this is all to do with looking far. It's all to get out of the house. This is all our ancient stuff. Till now, unfortunately, at least me as a younger person and many of us, we trashed it.
Okay.
See, we thought, Jainis were fasting forever, right? And I never fasted in my life because I thought it's nonsense, because you need food, you need breakfast and all of that. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But intermittent fasting, there's science behind it, that what Jainis did for like I don't know how many 100 years, it's scientifically proved that it is the most amazing thing you can do. I mean,
magical.
Yeah, it's magical.
Yeah. Great, amazing. So, I mean, I think this is very interesting conversations. You're demystifying a lot of things that we thought were common, understanding eating carrots and going out and blue light blockers, which has now become very commercial. So just tell me something. You said near vision is difficult, right? So I was just on a call with a client the other day, and she was actually looking at the TV. She like plugged the computer onto the TV and then watching the whole thing on the TV. Does that help?
Yeah, so it'll reduce the near work. So it'll reduce eye strain.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, even when when our kids are actually using the phone or the iPad and they are faffing around on it rather than schoolwork, we can actually cast that content onto the TV.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, better.
Okay,
so it's better because it reduces near work. It's making them do far work.
Okay. So TV is better than a computer. A computer is better than a phone.
Yeah.
Is that the pecking order?
Yeah. Only from a near work perspective. Otherwise, they all are bad. I mean,
Yeah, they're all bad in that way. But blinking helps, right? So, I mean, these are 4 or 5 amazing things that I'm getting away from this session. One is take periodic breaks, go out and watch something that's far away and get back. Keep blinking consciously. Keep that blinkers on, when you're at work, and wear those eye drops.
Yes.
Right? Are these 3 good?
Yeah. Don't sit.
Did I miss something?
Yeah. Don't sit on the draft of an air conditioner. Don't let wind be blowing across your face. Sit on. Try to maintain a correct posture and look downwards rather than upwards.
Okay, look downwards rather than upwards. Yeah. And then the exercises, you do it for general health, placebo effect. Where the blocking filters, if you like, that is also placebo effect. Okay.
One thing we can do, something which I didn't mention, is reduce the brightness of your screen a tiny bit.
Oh, okay.
So that will actually just make you feel a little more relaxed compared to looking at a really bright screen.
Okay, great. Okay, and if you get your number, please wear your glasses. Don't trouble
I think so. And if you think, some people don't want to wear, they think they've gotten old or whatever, which is fine.
Okay.
It's fine, but you're just straining your eyes. But a lot of times they are asymptomatic. So even though they are straining, they're like, Deepak, I'm not really suffering. So then continue doing it. There's no harm done.
Yeah, and keep diabetes and blood pressure in check. That was a big message, right?
Yes. Diabetes is super critical.
Yeah, you gave us all kind of scary graphic details about what could happen if things went out of hand. So I think we pretty much answered a lot of questions very truthfully, very honestly, and not playing the commercial part of it. So, I mean, I think this is amazing. Foods, do you have any general do's, don'ts for good eye health? Just wrapping up and...
Nothing more than what we have discussed, really. I mean, it's, it's just, I think nothing more.
Okay, nothing more. Okay.
I think looking far is the most critical in these times, and generally also because we are a lot. Yeah, I'll add something as an ending note. What we have been seeing in the last few years is young adults coming in with squints.
Squint, okay.
Acute onset, meaning suddenly they get a squint. Okay. And these young adults are on the phone 24/7.
Oh, okay.
So the advice that we are actually giving them is to not use the phone for 2 hours before sleeping.
Okay.
It was something that I didn't study in medical school.
Okay.
Happening, at times, the current times are causing new problems. And so that is something which is actually great for our health anyways, because then you get a better sleep, you get a deeper sleep and all of that.
Okay.
There's an amazing TED talk on sleep. It's called "Sleep is Your Superpower" or "Sleep is Your Power" or something, or "The Power of Sleep."
Power of sleep.
And so 2 hours before sleeping, and it's very difficult. I know I myself can't do it, but the trick to do it is, you stop 15 minutes before sleeping, you stop half an hour before sleeping, and you increase that time.
Get there, right. I think that's amazing. I'm just summarizing for the benefit of everybody. Near vision is harmful, so keep alternating. Far vision, at least once in an hour, go out and see something that's far away. Wear those eye drops. If you get power, wear your glasses, and stay away from the computer 15 minutes before you go to sleep, 15, 30, whatever. Okay, and did I miss anything? And the blocking doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And for your children, you could plug on the TV, which is a lot better idea.
Yes.
I think this is amazing. This was just brilliant, Deepak. Thank you so much for taking your time off and giving these tidbits. You bust a lot of myths, and you gave us a lot of solace, because we were freaking out about this whole screen time thing. It's giving us hope. So all is not too bad. Thank you so much, Deepak, and thank you, audience, for being amazing and very interesting, very intelligent questions. So have a great weekend, all of you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Bye, Deepak.
Bye.